Serena pulls out of the French Open. The Philadelphia Eagles pull out of visiting the White House. And we remember someone very special in the debut segment called That Was Then. Welcome to Cole Sports on the Daily. Well, thank you for coming in to Cole Sports YouTube channel and on the Daily. I am Cole Johnson, and on my mind today, let's get to it. The topics of the day. Start in DC, because that's been a hotbed for sports as of late. We will begin actually with the Stanley Cup final. The Washington Capitals are now one win away from hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup for the first time in their franchise. With a 6-2 victory over the Vegas Golden Knights, they have put themselves in that advantageous position where they have 3 games to win 1. Staying in the same city but switching gears, the Philadelphia Eagles, the current defending NFL world champs, basically said, nah, to the invitation from the White House to visit. Now, the White House released a statement saying that they're still going to have a celebration because there's a delegation of at least 1,000 fans that will make the trek from Philadelphia to DC to celebrate the achievement. However, when you had prominent figures such as defensive end Chris Long and cornerback Malcolm Jenkins saying, I'm not even going to set foot in DC for that event, that pretty much tipped off the rest of the team to say, we'll take a pass. We were going to see this issue crop up even more, especially with either one of the NBA world champions, the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors, because both teams will not visit the White House too. So it looks like the two organizations that will come from Major League Baseball and the NHL until further notice. Serena Williams, unfortunate happening. After the 6-love third set loss in the doubles competition, which she competed with Venus Williams, she had to pull out due to an abdominal pull in her upcoming match against Maria Sharapova. But you have to respect the fact that the 36-year-old is coming back off of a debilitating, pregnancy and complications thereof, in coming to competitive sports again. She may not be at the form that she was back in January of 2017, but knowing her, it will not take long for her to get back there. And those were your topics of the day. Coming up later, we're going to debut a new segment called That Was Then. Come on back. Coming up in the next episode of On the Daily, we're going to debut not another segment, but we are going to debut the video version of a segment called Upon Further Review. And we're going to also, of course, address the topic of the day. Who knows what the topic will be? But join me, because it will be even more thrilling than you could ever imagine. But that's tomorrow. Today, what I'm going to do is unveil a new segment. Well, as you've understood me to be in almost 2.5 years that I've been doing this, I love sports. You know that. You also know that I love history. Why don't I combine the two together? And that's what we're going to do right now in That Was Then. January 10th, 1982. This was the day that I first saw this gentleman that I'm going to talk about. And let me set the stage for you. It was a temperate Houston winter day. I mean, in Houston winters, the average low is normally about 40. The average high is normally around 60 to 65. So we're not talking about cold. We're talking about decent and comfortable. So we were invited to, my mother, father, and myself, we were invited to go to a friend's house. And there was about 15 of us. And we all huddled around the TV. So there was this kickoff that was going to happen. And the kickoff of the game that we got a chance to see at 3:25 local time was the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers in the iconic 1981 NFC Championship game in Candlestick Park. Now, we knew all about the Cowboys. In fact, most of the household was rooting for the Cowboys. All except for my mother, who really could care less about football, and me, who I root for the team that I love, dislike a couple teams, and pretty much do not care for any other. But I just wanted to see a good, entertaining game, and that's what we saw. Seesaw, back and forth affair. Now, we knew all the Cowboys. Knew all of them. You know, Tony Dorsett, Danny White, Ed Too Tall Jones, Randy White. We knew all of the Cowboys. But what was this team in white and gold and scarlet with the gold helmets, with the SF on it? We really didn't know about them. We had an idea about Hacksaw Reynolds, who was a defensive tackle. Fred Dean, who was traded from the Chargers to the 49ers. He was a defensive end. And this rookie hard-hitting, well, then cornerback, he ended up becoming a safety later on in his career, called Ronnie Lott. We knew about him, but this 16 fella. Now, 36 years later, we know that person was Joe Cool, Joe Montana, and the guy who threw for 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in Super Bowl games. But this wasn't a Super Bowl game. This was a championship game. And pretty similar to the NBA with the Rockets and Warriors in this year's conference finals, when people were saying that this was the real finals, many were saying that this was the real Super Bowl of that year. So it's 27-21, Cowboys, under 5 minutes to go, and Montana, who needed steadying because 3 interceptions he threw in that game. He needed steadying, and Walsh decided to run the ball to midfield, and that's what happened. Then they mixed the pass and run all the way to the Cowboys' 10, where they called a sprint rollout. So Montana sprints, rolls out to the right, throws the ball, looks like it's about to go into the second row of the Candlestick Park stands. We see Everson Walls, the Rookie of the Year, guarding the guy who leapt up and caught the pass, got 2 feet in bounds, and spiked it to the loud eruption of probably San Francisco and the Bay Area, let alone Candlestick Park itself. And that person was number 87, Dwight Clark. Now, he is the guy that, unfortunately, he battled with ALS, and he was pronounced dead yesterday. To know the type of fabric of what this man was, the 49ers family rallied to be around him and support him, and they had nothing but complimentary things to say about him. Former owner Eddie DeBartolo said that he was his little brother. Former linebacker Keena Turner said that you couldn't play with a finer teammate. Former running back Roger Craig said that he almost fainted when he heard the news of Clark's passing. Of course, Joe Montana said that he and his wife Jennifer were heartbroken, and this passing was far too soon, and he had much love for a friend and a brother in Clark. And none other than former wide receiver Jerry Rice said that not only was he a class act on and off the field, that Rice himself emulated Clark. He was all business on the field. He was all class off the field. And it's a huge loss for the NFL and sports family. Dwight Clark, former Pro Bowler, former All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champion, dead at the age of 61. we happen to like this episode or any episode that you have seen thus far on the Daily, come on now. Click that red button below and subscribe. Subscribe to Cole Sports on the Daily. Every Monday through Saturday, you're going to get at least one of these videos. So enjoy what you see. And if you enjoy what you see of me here, you're definitely going to enjoy seeing me on Periscope. Join me live every Monday through Saturday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I want to have lunch with the East Coasters and West Coasters. I want to enjoy that little cup of joe that you're drinking. And I want you to also ponder one other thing. Go to Instagram and you will find there the question of the day. I like to see the posts of my VIPs. Subscribe here, like, share, and comment also on the Daily on YouTube exclusively. Join me live noon Eastern on Periscope. And question of the day. Follow me, like it, and comment on the answer to the question. Well, that's all the time I have. I am Cole Johnson. This has been Cole Sports on the visual and on the Daily.